That was a 1/4 inch off. Oh, crap. Oh, stupid, 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 stupid. Oh, I didn't see you come in. But I'm glad you're here because today I want to do a video on stupidity. This video is going to be part of my Reconsidered series in which I'm looking at a whole bunch of phenomena, each of which I think has a particularly negative valence for most people. For instance, my last video was on madness, but this one, like I said before, is going to be on stupidity. So here it is, Stupidity Reconsidered. Okay, like I said in the introduction, in this video I want to explore the meaning of stupidity. But right off the bat, probably the obvious question is, why would a reasonably intelligent college professor want to inquire into the nature of stupidity? Well, like I mentioned earlier, this entire series of videos, which I'm calling the Reconsidered series, is about exploring the areas of life that most people find repellent and ugly. The kinds of things we almost always run from or try to disown. And it seems to me that stupidity is one of those things. However, at a more personal level, I regard myself as a real connoisseur of stupidity. For me, stupidity is like a fine vintage wine, heady and intoxicating, with an insouciant and slightly piquant bouquet. Okay, let me give you an example. One of my favorite films of all time, which I regard as the apotheosis of the cinematic arts, is the Sharknado series. Yes, I said Sharknado. Now, some people would say that these movies really bite, but personally, I appreciate and savor them. That's because I'm pretty much an aficionado of utter and unmitigated imbecility, so inquiring into the nature of stupidity is personally relevant to me. However, in more formal, structural terms, it seems to me that understanding and pursuing intelligence will only make sense insofar as we also have an understanding of its opposite. Basically, to understand intelligence fully, we also need to begin to comprehend its absence or its antithesis, which incidentally is something that we academicians hardly ever do. So, probably the next question is, how do we enter into a conversation about stupidity? Personally, I think that one good place to start is to examine its obvious place within the range of insults people like to use. To me, insults are fascinating, partly because of their projective nature, as we students of psychology like to say. In other words, when we really want to hurt someone with an insult, we usually pick something that would hurt us, something that's painful for us personally. So, if you want to find out what a person's issues are, look at the insults he or she usually uses. And as I look out across the broad cultural terrain of insults people commonly use, it seems to me that most of them fall into two basic groups. First, there's the class of insults that have to do with sexuality. For instance, calling someone a dick, a prick, a putz, a pussy, a mother effing douchebag, douche nozzle, or just a plain and simple douche. And then there's the time-worn and venerable, F you, buddy. And perhaps the more expansive, go F yourself, which actually always seemed like a strange way of insulting someone. It's like saying, oh God, I hate you so much. I wish you would go somewhere and experience intense, ecstatic, autoerotic pleasure. 'Cause that's how much I hate you. Kind of strange, isn't it? But I digress. Anyhow, the next basic category of insults has to do with the topic of this video, stupidity. Shithead, dunderhead, lunkhead, knothead, addle-pated simpleton, idiot, imbecile, moron, and dummy. They're all variations on the theme of stupidity. So, if you want a rough and approximate indicator of where our psychological issues are at the cultural level, well, basically we're hung up on our sexuality, and we're hung up on our intelligence. But why would our intelligence be such a matter of concern for us? What makes being called stupid such a cutting insult for most of us? Well, the obvious reason is that underneath the surface, a lot of us probably worry about whether we're smart enough. And at an even deeper level, whether we have worth as human beings. But what is the issue of stupidity about more specifically? Well, I think that stupidity breaks down basically into three basic interrelated components. The first one has to do with how much we know. When other people know things that we don't, it tends to make us a little nervous about our possible stupidity. The second component has to do with how agile our minds are. If other people are able to do things with their minds that we can't, once again, tends to make us feel a little stupid in comparison. And finally, stupidity also has to do with doing unwise or imprudent things, things that we should know better than to be doing. So when someone calls us stupid, it plays upon our inner doubts and anxieties about these three areas of life. It seems an obvious truth that our culture values people who are knowledgeable, whose minds are agile, and who make wise decisions in life. So, when we seem to be missing these qualities, it quickly makes us feel doubt and shame about whether we're still worthwhile human beings. However, at the same time, there's also something deeply illusory about all of this, at least in my view. First, the obvious reality is that we're exactly as stupid or smart as we are, whether we worry about it or not. Basically, worrying and feeling ashamed about ourselves doesn't change things. It only depletes our time and energy. But beyond this, isn't the larger reality of life that we all have gaps and deficits in our personal stock of knowledge? After all, no one knows everything, and don't we all have lapses in our mental agility, at least now and then? It seems to me that we all have brain farts, much like we all have literal farts. And finally, don't we all do unwise things from time to time? Who among us is immune from all of this? Who among us is safe from the grievous ravages of human stupidity? In my own experience, the simple truth is that no one is immune and no one is safe. Everyone is a carrier of human stupidity, including myself. It's only a question of when and where and how often it manifests itself. Yeah, we may be saying and doing some pretty smart things today, but give it time. We'll be saying or doing something pretty dopey pretty soon. And the great consensual illusion is the myth that an inherently non-stupid person actually exists. It's a little like the ancient myth of the centaur. Half man, half horse doesn't actually exist in reality. Not in this lifetime, not in this world. So, while it plays upon our inner anxieties, insulting each other by calling each other stupid really has very little basis in reality. Only in the world of phantoms that haunt the desolate corridors of our inner anxieties. And I find that there's a kind of liberation in taking this insight to heart. For instance, when you really acknowledge your own human stupidity, you're no longer prone to having the quality of your emotional life depend upon the next clown who might call you an idiot. Basically, being called stupid no longer works as an effective insult. That's because when we recognize that we're already stupid, along with everyone else, being called stupid is a little like being called a mammalian biped. It's simply a self-evident truth that's already been fully acknowledged and digested, not an occasion to feel any degree of shame, pain, and anger. And the ultimate payoff is that when we diffuse the bomb of insult-driven emotional manipulation in our lives, we're that much freer to pursue our own authentic possibilities more faithfully and more powerfully. However, it seems to me that there's an even deeper element of liberation in all of this, and it has to do with giving up the whole project of needing to seem smart all the time, which is pretty much rampant in the academic world where I work, and I would say in our culture more generally. When we give up that illusory project, that shimmering mirage, we can then allow deeper forms of intelligence to emerge and hold sway over our minds and our lives. We can let our childlike capacity to experience deep awe, wonderment, and reverence, perhaps long buried under the detritus of many hard years, re-emerge and flourish. We can rediscover what it is to laugh like a child, and we can finally finally become the poets of time and space that life has been seeking all this time. And if we can find in our hearts the courage to pass beyond the habits and constrictions of our small selves, we can assume our rightful place among the stars at night. And so, let me end this video by calling to all of you beautiful, stupid human beings, all of you participants in the staggering mystery of things with your faulted and daring hearts, all of you who are so blindly stupid as I am, and yet so eager to see with the eyes of the world, I call to you across the incalculable and uncertain space between us. And in this moment, I'd like to tell you that the universe doesn't really care whether we're stupid or smart, and all things considered, we're bound to be a combination of both no matter what. So we can stop worrying about it and start living toward what really sings and what really shines in this life. I don't know. Does that sound stupid? Well, might be. But if so, I guess that there are worse fates in this world. Have a great day.